Hello and welcome to the Home Assistant Podcast. My name's Phil. Joining me as usual, I've got Rohan. How you doing, mate?
Hey, good. How are you?
Very good, thank you. And today we are joined by Josh. Josh, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This podcast is sponsored by Home Assistant Cloud by Nabucasa. For a small monthly fee, you'll unlock powerful features like secure, effortless access to your system from anywhere, your choice of voice assistants, offsite backups, and more. All configurable in the UI with no YAML needed. It also supports the development of Home Assistant, ESP Home, and other Open Home Foundation projects. Click the link in the description to learn more. We'd also like to give a shout out to our Patreon members and our executive producers, Benny and Rob. For a small monthly fee, you can support the podcast. You can get early access to episodes, all in an ad-free feed. To support the show, check out homeassistant.fm and click Patreon in the menu. Josh, thank you so much for joining us today. Where in the world are you joining us from?
Right outside of Denver, Colorado, United States.
Very nice. Now, I only know like states roughly. So where is like Colorado? Like, is that south, north?
It
Where?
is kind of like, it's basically like middle west. I'm gesturing in the wrong
Yeah,
direction on the
yeah.
screen, but middle west. Rocky Mountains come right down through basically
Okay,
the
nice.
middle-ish, and we're right on the eastern side of the Rocky Mountains, about
Okay.
same, I don't know, latitude and longitude, whichever one is the up and down, or the sort of horizontal one. We're kind of
Yeah.
same latitude or longitude as like Pennsylvania, essentially. So we're kind of like
Okay.
not
Yeah.
super north, not super
Right.
south.
So I'm guessing
Right.
winters there can still get a bit cold, but you get a nice
hmm
summer as well.
Yeah. Weather. I mean, that's people talk about the weather here all the time. It's great. It's dry. Summers are actually, now we're like super hot. It's just sunny and hot all summer long, and then we get in a short fall, but then winter's pretty good, right? It doesn't get super frigid like it does up north, but we get some snow. A lot of it goes into the mountains, so the city itself is usually pretty okay. It's just a good
Yeah.
Oh,
place to live.
interesting.
So how did you get here today? I guess you're obviously on the Home Assistant podcast. Like,
Mhm.
what got you into Home Assistant?
Really, it was, I guess, part of, I like wrote down, like, I'm always like I like to tinker. I like gadgets and stuff like that. So I've always been whether it's video game consoles and things or smart home stuff, I've always dabbled in that. And I went back, I was like, oh yeah, probably like my smart home official journey is like 2019. I get a couple of like Google Homes and my Hue lights, and that kind of is what I do for a while, and not really knowing about anything like Home Assistant. And then this year really was this whole journey, ordeal, slight mental breakdown a couple of times. Uh we had just gotten fiber in the neighborhood. Actually, that's like a year ago, and we switched to fiber, but Quantum is our provider, and they do this sort of like, here, use our gear, right? You don't have your own stuff. And so it was the first time I really jumped
Right.
onto the service providers, um, optical like modem basically, and their like router. And I mean, it worked, but then every 2 or 3 months, a lot of our like older Internet of Things IoT stuff would get like booted off of something, and they wouldn't reconnect, and it would be this whole like, call the service guys, no one knows, everybody is like, I don't know, and then they send a tech
Right.
out, and they actually just like replace the combined router that they had. And it would like, things would reconnect, and then 2 or 3 months later it's like same thing, and after like 3 times of doing that, they were like, listen, man, we can't keep coming out and replacing your device. Your stuff is old and it just doesn't work. I think somebody literally told me, I was like, you should just get new stuff. And I'm like, I, I have like half a dozen or more Sonos speakers in this house, and like Google Homes and other things, and
Yeah.
like they like a security camera, my thermostat. I'm like, you're telling me replace all of that? It's like, Yeah, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And so it went
That
down
makes
this like,
zero sense.
Thank you
Like,
for your suggestion, Quantum. I really appreciate that.
yeah, yeah. He was like, or you could just use your own gear. And I was like, I'm gonna do that. Like,
Yeah,
so, so like I talked to some of my friends, and my one friend at my office, he was like, oh, you should get into the Ubiquity Unify stuff because you can control all your things, and because that was the issue, is like their gear is just a black box. Like there's no settings I can tweak, there's nothing. They made this change where there used to be a way where you could like suppress the 5 and 6 gigahertz and allow just 2.4 to let your old stuff connect, and then it would resume the other bands, and they like got rid of that feature. And so like as far as I like am not a deeply technical person as much as I love this stuff, but as far as I could figure out, I was like, there's just some kind of like handshake thing going on where it's like it's not letting these devices connect to it's like trying to steer them to the 5 gigahertz, which they can't see because that doesn't exist for them. And it's so long story long, we like switched over to Unify gear, and that was a whole journey I was not ready for, because I definitely I've always been a plug and play sort of person. And my friend said like, yeah, you could just plug it in, it'll be fine. And like, I got it, plugged it in, because it was like right when the Dream Router 7 was coming out. And so I got that. I was like, oh, all in one. It's, Wi-Fi 7, less than $300. Like this is actually pretty great. And then it like my internet wasn't working. I couldn't get it to like connect. I learned about like now I have like a double NAT situation because
oh
the
no.
the um the like modem device is actually doing router functions for the like
yeah.
internet service provider. And so I'm like, Reddit, Chat GPT, and YouTube have been like my best friends. And eventually it was like, all right, I figured out have to put the modem in bridge mode. That gets rid of that issue. That worked fine. And then I realized, as much as like the Unify gear is amazing in terms of customizability, in my home setup, it doesn't have the range in terms of like strength of the radios that like some of my like out of the box from Best Buy devices had. And so I was like, oh, okay, I need to get like an access point for the basement and an access point for the top floor. And then I was like, oh, now I need a bigger switch, in the mechanical closet. And oh, they have PoE, so I need one with that. And what is that? And learning about all that stuff. My wife was like, "Are you gonna tell him about your breakdown?" I was like, "I'll mention that." Like, there was one day where I don't even know what set it off. Something like just totally wasn't working. I couldn't get the internet up. I think it was when I tried to add in like a guest Wi-Fi or like do some of the VLAN stuff, and things just broke. And I was like, I need to fix this, and I can't do anything but fix this. And she was like, all right, I guess I'm watching the kids for 5 hours while you have a mini breakdown in the house. She was not pleased with me, but I got it fixed. And after like learning how to use it more, and like that steep learning curve, um, everything works great. Like it's just reliable. I have
Yeah.
no issues. None of my stuff's getting kicked off. I learned how to do firewalls and VLAN separation, and that was all like April, May that's happening of this year. And the same friend who recommended that was like, you should do Home Assistant, man. It's so much better than Google Home. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, like if you like Unify, where you can like tinker and customize settings, like you can do anything you want in Home Assistant. And
I like that you kept going back to this person even after their advice that caused a breakdown. That's
yeah, yeah. I mean, they do give some solid advice, even if my knowledge base couldn't really handle it at first. And so that's what got me here. And I relied on him because I was like, well, how do I do this on like a Raspberry Pi, or like do I just get the Home Assistant Green? I figured, like, looked into that. and he was just like, just get a mini PC, man. Like, because at that point he knew I wanted to also try to like do a Pi hole, and he was like, yeah,
Yeah.
just
Right.
do that and go the Proxmox route and run it in a virtual machine. And like, what is that? What does that mean? And he's like, here, just like look at this, and gave me some info. And I was like, okay. And then I was like looking at some of the B-Link mini PCs that were pretty affordable, and I like sent him a couple links. I'm like, what should I do? And he's like, get this one. It's got dual LAN. They got 2.5 gig, ports, so you're covered for that. And it's like, I don't know, it was like just under $200. Um, and so I like, oh yeah, like, so got that. I don't know the guy at all, but I found, was it Derek Siemens Tech Blog, and he has just like a blog and a step by step for like how do you install Proxmox, and then how do you install Home Assistant using helper scripts. Um, and I did the thing that probably everybody says, like, if you're going to use a helper script, you should know what is in it or know what you're doing. And I was like, I have no idea. I'm just following this guy's instructions. And so,
This dude tried it. I'm sure it's fine.
I'm
Let's
sure it's
go.
fine. What's going to
Yeah.
happen? Turn my home into some secret Bitcoin mining machine for someone in another country. I don't know. Who cares? And
funny.
that like got me set up, and I just followed the steps, did what he said, and then next thing I know, I got Proxmox on the mini PC. I opened up the Home Assistant in a virtual machine, and also was able to get the Pi hole later. And it's been like, Home Assistant has been incredibly smooth. I feel like I'm lucky to have come to it where it is in its current existence, because if I
Yeah.
hit it probably like 3, 4, 5 years ago, I would have like bounced off of it. I was like, I can't do YAML. I can't do, this is too complicated, not user friendly enough. And now I feel like it hits that sweet spot for me where like most of it is like really pretty good, like user interface wise. It definitely takes figuring out, and like, what does this mean? What does that mean? What's a helper? What's a trigger ID? And like all this stuff. But once I've learned some of it, it's like, oh yeah, this makes sense. This is pretty easy to use. And like any YAML or like stuff that I have to actually put in, I have the moderately frustrating assistance of ChatGPT or any of the other AIs, where I just feed a question to them. They give me YAML that's wrong. I feed it back to them and say, hey, this is wrong. They're like, oh yeah, I totally got that wrong. Let me fix it. And we do that a couple times back and forth, and eventually we get to the right thing. And at this point, that's easier than me learning how to type it myself. Yeah, and I absolutely love it.
Does Proxmox give you, so when you install, like, you've got your Home Assistant now running through Proxmox, does that mean you're now running Home Assistant?
Yes. Yeah, it's Home Assistant OS. Yeah,
Yeah.
in the VM.
Yeah, that's great. So then you get access to all the add-ons as well.
Yeah.
So and are you using add-ons as well, or have you
Yes.
just?
Yeah, I've got let's see, I'm like opening up my companion app. What do I have?
There is
here?
add-ons, and then there's the hacks components.
I got
as
that.
well.
Like, that's a lot of like learning through YouTube and listening to your podcast for you guys and I'm like, oh, what's hacks? Oh, what's spook? And like getting those things and like adding them in. So I've got all my integrations where it's like I have my August lock, ESP home stuff, Google Drive, hacks, my LG TVs. I have the MQTT, like Mosquito, some weather stuffs, Philips Hue, Pi-hole, Pirate Weather, PlayStation, my thermostat through Ream. Figuring out how to get Simply Safe in here for security was a leap of like figuring that out and following some instructions to capture something through like the developer tools on the, like Google Chrome or something, Sonos, Spook, and Unify. That's kind of, those are my integrations and stuff that I've got in there.
You must be that one guy that I assume was the PlayStation integration was made for. Can you tell me what you're doing with that PlayStation integration?
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely
I've
nothing.
always wondered that too.
Absolutely.
That's
Other
funny.
than it's the only thing it is it's cool to like see like oh, when I turn my PlayStation on, I have a little button mushroom card that's like your PlayStation's on, and if I click on it,
Nice.
I can see like what game is playing. So right now, I'm the only one in my house that uses PlayStation at all. So it means nothing. It does absolutely nothing except it's cool to have, and I love that
Yeah.
it's there.
That's cool.
But
Yeah.
I could like foresee a use case like probably like 5 or 6 years from now when one of my sons is using PlayStation to like be a little of a monitor. Like I can have some automations running. Like if PlayStation turns on, if someone's like trying to remote play to the PlayStation from their room at like midnight, maybe cutting them off or setting some kind of automation where maybe they'll get a little text to speech like, Julian, you shouldn't be playing PlayStation right now. Turn it off. It's midnight.
I've I've done a I can't remember. There's a so many different integration times, but where there is a helper or an entity you can use, and I basically set up some rules to start because I'm conscious of screen time for our kids. So when the TV is on, and someone is in the living room, and it's during certain like when the kids are awake, so from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. will track how long like someone is watching the TV in the living room. So then at the end of the
Nice.
day, I can say, okay, someone's watched the TV for 2 hours today. Generally, be like something that's on for the kids, right? Um, so then I can sort of, at the moment, we're not automating it, but eventually, like in the future, I can say, okay, um, this week you had X amount of hours of TV. Let's, cut it back or whatever. You could probably do the same thing with PlayStation, right? If, in this condition, is PlayStation is on and the TV is on, someone's playing the PlayStation, just count the number of hours it was active for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
That's really
just
cool.
turn it off. Just straight up.
Yeah.
Nope. You're done.
Yeah.
That's funny. So you talked about all the different integrations you have in there, and so on. Like what anything cool, anything different? I know you mentioned SimpliSafe, and before we recorded, you were talking about the Philips Hue.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what you're doing with some of those things too.
Yeah. I think like my one of the things I saw probably on Reddit or like, home assistant, just starting out, what do you do? And some of the advice I read was like, pick like your one project, like pick a project and like try to take that before you try to like spread yourself too thin around doing too many things. And so I feel like the lighting stuff was my first big, like, okay, that's like, it'll feel really cool. It's really visible. And I kind of have to get it right in a way that my wife will like appreciate and like value it rather than like this is
Yeah.
just so annoying, please stop, you can't keep doing this to me. Which we have a little bit of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so yeah, so like the Hue lighting was like the first big project of like my like fantasy end goal is I want to be able to exist in my home and never touch a light switch but have the lights do exactly what I want them to do all the time.
Yep.
um
Yeah.
and I don't know, we're like 75% of the way there maybe at this point.
That's
It's
cool.
pretty good.
Yeah.
But it kind of opened up a like, oh, I need some like I need sensors to pair with this, and so figuring out and doing some research around that. Um, and so I got some of the Hue motion sensors, which anything Hue is, in my experience, like usually for me, it's always been like pretty reliable and solid performance wise, but pricey. It's like a motion sensor is like $50. A light is like 50, $60. And it's just like a PIR motion sensor. Like it's not anything fancy. So they are pricey, but I try to remind myself, I'm like, yeah, but I have Hue light bulbs that have gone through several moves and are like 6+ years old and they still work great. And so it's like if I'm spending 50 or $60 on a bulb that's gonna last me a decade, and I do all the like color. I love the like ambience and the color stuff so that we make cool scenes for the holidays and things. Um, but yeah, so it's like I got some sensors. I found Apollo, which I know is on your podcast. I think I saw them on Reddit, and then the podcast was like really cool to listen to them, and so I have like a couple of their sensors um, for like millimeter wave radar, and those have been really really useful. Um, yeah, so it's like setting up automations for the different rooms in the house. When so it's kind of like nothing super fancy, like when someone walks into the room, if it's during this time of day, activate this scene. And when it's, at nighttime, activate this scene. And if it's between, midnight and 6 a.m., don't do anything because the cats don't need to turn the lights on for us.
Yeah, interesting. So how do you manage the cats then? Like, because I think I think the Apollo devices come with little covers that you can put on the or maybe it's not Apollo, but one brand comes with little covers that you can put on the sensor to sort of shield at a certain height, so that pets and cats don't trigger things. Have you had to try and position sensors in a certain way? Or
Yeah. Yeah, the cats are the bane of our lighting smart home existence.
yeah, I
That's
bet.
And
funny.
so I've just tried to get creative, and it's been a little difficult. Some of it is like sensor placement. So like one of the Hue sensors, I got on a ladder, and it's basically like up on the almost like on our ceiling, so that
Mm,
it basically doesn't the field of view doesn't hit the ground level, but
yeah.
it hits if like a human is walking, it'll catch us, but it won't catch a cat. There was a fun exercise of me on my hands and knees crawling up and down our staircases to see if it would register me, and getting it high enough so that it didn't pick me up pretending to be a
Amazing.
cat. So I did that. But like our basement, I'm in my basement now, and this has been the hardest part because they come down here a lot, and this is where I have the Apollo. I have their MSR2 millimeter wave radars. I've got two of them
Hmm.
that basically covers the whole main basement. This is kind of like an office, and then there's just like a big room that's got our
Right.
TV and like all the fun stuff and books and things. And the cats play down there. They've got a huge cat tree, and anytime they come in the basement, it detects presence. And there was no way of filtering them out without filtering people out, and then leading to this thing where it's just so unreliable. And so just when I got a couple of new Hue sensors, what I've switched to is the Apollo sensors are there just to basically detect presence and turn the lights off, but not to turn them on. And then I've got in the staircase, there's just a PIR Hue sensor that is high enough that the cats don't trigger it, but any human walking down the stairs turns it on. And then this office door, I just have a contact sensor on that. When you open the door, it also turns the lights on. And so those are that's the workarounds. Like I had to get more sensors to basically
Yeah.
have it so that if I walk down the basement stairs, the lights, and I love Home Assistant for this, like I do like a 3 second fade up. So it just feels
Yes.
like they're just kind of like waking up for you rather than like just turning on, which is cool, but not as cool. And so
Yeah.
you're walking down the steps, and it's like by the time you reach the bottom of the stairs, the lights have like turned on for you. And then when you're down here, the millimeter wave radars keep the lights from going off because they detect that you're down here. But if I go into this office and I'm like working, and then there's no one in there, the lights will go off. And so then if I open the door again, the lights come back on. And
Yeah.
I had to do like a sensor group because we also have a bathroom that is attached. And the one area I'm still probably working on a little bit is like if you go into the bathroom, the motion sensor in there, which is another just Hue motion sensor, will just
Yeah.
turn the bathroom lights on. And I have that just
Nice.
on a more dumb kind of like, if you don't detect motion for 5 minutes, turn the bathroom lights off. So unless you're sitting very still for a while in the bathroom, it serves good enough.
Nice.
But then I was like, oh yeah, but then if you're in there, the millimeter wave radars don't detect you, and so it'll turn the basement lights off. And then when you walk out, there's no trigger to turn them back on. What do I do here? And so the workaround was like, okay, if I do a sensor group where it's like basement occupancy is basically the millimeter wave radars plus the bathroom sensor. And if those are all clear for like 5 minutes, then you can turn the lights off. But if any one of them has any motion or detection, then keep the basement lights on. And so I think that kind of will solve that issue enough for now. So that was kind of the the rigmarole in figuring that out and trying to filter out the cats.
It's interesting because the only other thing I could think of is like without positioning sensors. I think your solution is fantastic. I was my would next train of thought would have been, okay, I'm gonna have to get cameras in the house and use like not the plug Reolink here. I've used Reolink myself, so I know it has a feature. Ubiquitous probably got the same thing, but in the cameras they have the AI detection built into the camera, so you can say, okay, what is a person? What is an animal? And then you would have a camera in the corner when a person's detected. Okay, now turn the lights on, as opposed to an animal, right? But then you've got to have cameras in your house, and that sort of gets a bit creepy.
Yeah, we have a couple of security cameras through Simply Safe, but nothing that does anything unless you're like actually viewing it. And so the whole camera security system, and there's a couple other areas like I want to get like a NAS for like some kind of media server and things like that. Those are all future plans. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the Hue I just got the I think I was mentioning I just finally upgraded to the Hue Bridge Pro just came out. And I'm excited to see. So I mean the big selling point, or the reason why I had to do it, is just the limit for the old bridge. You could only have, I think it was like 50 lights plus or minus 10 or 12 sensors or something like that, and switches combined. And so we had kind of hit the limit at the house because I've got the recessed lighting in the basement is all Hue, and then bulbs throughout the house, and we've got a couple sensors, a couple switches, and we were kind of at the limit. That I've got the Play Gradient TV light strip, which is to sync up with the TV, which is just the coolest thing. It's so fun. So we were at our limit. I was like, all right, I've been waiting for the new one to come out, and so I nabbed it as soon as it came out. It just got here Thursday, and luckily Home Assistant pushed the patch in the 9.1 upgrade or update for migrating to the new bridge so that it didn't break all of my Home Assistant stuff, and it didn't, which is fantastic.
Nice. Positive.
And so made the switch, but the coolest thing is they're implementing what they call their like motion aware tech. And so I guess they're using the Zigbee like mesh, and then detecting, like, you can select like 3 or 4 bulbs that make a shape basically between them, and then it detects interference in that sort of mesh, and then uses that as a motion detector to turn lights on and off. So you don't even need a sensor. You just can walk into a room, and if you're in between lights, it'll detect presence and turn the lights on for you, which is really cool. The only problem right now, which fingers crossed I think is going to get fixed, is right now it's not like a feature it doesn't show up as a binary motion sensor entity in Home Assistant. And so you have to like go to the Hue app to use the motion areas and to set it up. And then you have to try to set up a schedule through the Hue app, which is not as flexible as setting up automations through Home Assistant. And you can't do the same kinds of, you can't link it to anything really else. And so I've tested it out in a couple areas of the house just through the Hue app. And it's like, it seems pretty reliable for turning the lights on, but then it's just if it gets triggered, turns the lights on, and then there's just a timer, and then it'll turn them off, and then so it needs the assistance of other sensors and like really Home Assistant automations. And I just this morning, someone was posting on the GitHub that they're working on it, and maybe by the end of this weekend they'll have it, because the the founder or one of Hue was on Reddit, and he acknowledged that like the motion aware areas are part of their public API. They're just the only thing that's off limits is like using them for security notifications because that's like their
Right.
subscription service that they want to
Right.
handle. And so I'm like, cool, I don't need security notifications. I just need a
Yeah.
motion
Yeah.
sensor entity that I can use to trigger automations. And if that gets implemented, I'm kind of really excited to see what I can do with it at the house with all our lights.
Have you been able to test it with your cats or anything? Like, is it like does it know, or is it sensitive enough to know that a cat has walked into a room, or is it in the room, or is
No,
it just people?
you can dial through the Hue app. They do have like a sensitivity bar that you can dial up or down. And
Right.
I haven't done extensive testing with the cats, but it depends on where the lights are. And so far, I have the sensitivity kind of medium or a little low, and it seems like it's catching us, but maybe not the cats. But
Okay.
I haven't done extensive testing. I think it won't be super great for that. I think I'll still need kind of other workarounds to kind of filter out cats. But I'm a, that's life.
Do you know if like how quick is it to respond to you walking into a room? Like one of my pain points of automated lighting is if I walk into a room and the motion sensor hasn't turned the light on straight away, it frustrates me, right? Like it should
Yeah,
be instant that a light is turning on.
yeah.
How
It's
good
really
is the
quick.
reaction?
That's
Yeah.
that was the thing I noticed most. Like, so I mean, listening to you guys, I've been in this war with myself of like, man, I got all these Hue lights and I'm on the Zigbee network, but like I really want to go try Z-Wave and like I could get the new ZWA. Is that the ZWA, that the antenna from Home?
Yeah.
Like that sounds so cool, and do some Zeus stuff mostly for like I know Zigbee is on the like 2.4 gigahertz band, and I don't want to clutter that. It would be great to switch to Z-Wave, but I'm so deep into the Hue ecosystem. So I was like trying to feel like what's faster, Zigbee or Z-Wave, and I don't know, mixed results. ChatGPT tells me Zigbee is going to be faster, but I've seen other people posting like my Z-Wave is a lot faster than the Zigbee. And the biggest upgrade with the Hue Pro Bridge has been like how snappy it is. That like I didn't realize how kind of delayed the old bridge was for me
Right.
because
Yeah.
I think it was just I kind of like I set the fade up in the Home Assistant automations for like 3 seconds so that it's pretty quick but still enjoyable. Like, and I didn't realize that part of the short fade up is because there was like a bit of a like register delay, so it actually takes a little longer. And so like I had gotten used to this rhythm of like how slowly or it would come on in like the way that felt good. And then I put the new
Yeah.
bridge in and I walk into a room and I'm like, oh, those lights came on a little too fast. Like that's much faster. And if you set it to like no delay or no fade up, I mean they're instant, and the motion aware within the Hue ecosystem has been like really snappy, and so that I've been like very pleasantly surprised by.
That's very cool. I was gonna say, like, how accurate is it? I mean, I know we were talking about accuracy with regard to your cats versus humans, but how accurate is it in general in terms of capturing everything? Like, it seems like that's
The,
pretty good from what you're
yeah,
describing.
yeah, it
Wow.
is. It really, I think so. It really, I've only done like a little testing because I've had it for like 48 hours at this point.
Yeah.
But it really depends on the light setup. So like it tells you not to do this, but I was like, let me try anyway. I tried in my bathroom just to see if that could be the motion aware area, could be the bathroom. But I just have a
Yeah.
vanity that just has four lights like within 2 feet directly next to each other. And so if you set those lights as it, like the three-dimensional shape that it makes is just a straight line by the lights. And so it doesn't capture anything. And so it didn't work at all. Like I walked
Yeah.
into the bathroom, there's no interruption in the RF field or whatever they're measuring, the Zigbee field, and so it did nothing. Then when you follow their instructions, where it's like you basically want to create as big of a three-dimensional shape as you can using lights of
Yeah.
varying heights in different areas. And you're not limited to the room within which you're actually wanting to turn the lights on. It could be like any light in your house, basically.
Mm.
And so we have sort of like a, I don't know, like a donut shaped house where there's like a center column where there's walls, but then it's kind of like rooms or like a donut around there. And so I was able to like we have a couple lamps in the living room that are like staggering at different heights. And then the entryway where the garage door is has like a ceiling light. So I was like, I'll use that entryway light and like three of the lamp lights, and it creates a more three-dimensional shape, but I'll only control the living room lights with that. And it's it's been working pretty darn reliable. The only thing that hasn't been fun is it's still just housed in the Hue app. And so it's like, yeah, you walk in, it turns them on according to the Hue schedule, not Home Assistant. And then, right now I think the setting is like after 15 minutes, it turns the lights off. And it's like, so my wife was watching TV yesterday and, she goes into the room, the lights turn on, she's great. And then it turned the lights off on her after 15 minutes. She's like, the lights went off. I'm like, sorry, I'll just turn this off for right now. She was like, because once she was there, she was like, I was like waving my arms and they didn't go back on. I was like, yeah, I think you need to actually like, there needs to be like a pretty bold or brisk amount of movement to trigger it. It's not, it doesn't seem to capture things as subtly as something like a millimeter wave radar would.
Yeah. Well, I know you just mentioned Zeus, so I need to do a little plug here. If you're looking to upgrade your smart home, you can't go past Zeus. Add Z-Wave long range to your home assistant setup with the Zeus ZST39 USB radio. Their advanced technology operates in dual network mode, combining a reliable mesh system with ultra-fast direct device-to-hub connectivity. And with Z-Wave long range support, you can get coverage up to 1,300 feet or 400 meters, both indoors and outdoors. It's extremely secure with unique DSK QR code scanning, which you can directly do within Home Assistant. The Z-Wave JS integration in Home Assistant enables seamless compatibility with a range of brands, all working together through this secure, private, and standardized off-cloud protocol. But that's just the start. Zeus offer a range of affordable and innovative devices, including water leak sensors, water valve controllers, smart plugs, scene controllers, and even color paddles. Their Zen 34 remote switch has just been Z-Wave certified, bringing flexible scene control to your smart home, and their seamless wall mounting, battery-powered, the Zen 34 offers intuitive control without any rewiring. For the best prices on all Zeus products, head over to thesmartesthouse.com. That's thesmartesthouse.com.
All right. So, when it comes to Hue and light switches and so on and so forth, how are you using those? What do you and actually how do you find those? The integrations between them?
The light switches.
Yeah, like the ones you have in your Hue hub today.
Yeah, I use their like dimmer switch, like to control them. So we kind of just put them on they have their little like dimmer switch, their little remote, and so I just kind of put those next to the actual wall switch. If I could like build my house from scratch, I would like actually get some in the wall stuff so that it people can't turn the lights on and off with the switch and cut power to them and
Yeah,
ruin
because that's the
my
only problem with Hue, right? Like
yeah.
as soon as you cut power to them,
Yeah.
then all your motion like goes away as well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because
exactly. Yeah, then it's gone. And so, when we're in the house, like the family knows, like, don't touch the light switches. If you want to turn the lights off, you do the Hue remote.
Yeah.
It's right there. But like whenever we have guests or whatever, they'll flip things on and off, as they should, make
yeah,
themselves comfortable. But so I haven't solved for that exactly. I think
Yeah,
the
yeah,
only way
yeah.
is to open the switch, the actual switch, and put some kind of relays in there that contain. I know Hue at one point made those. I'm sure they're expensive, and I think you could get probably cheaper ones, like maybe Shelly or other kind of
Hmm.
brands do those kinds of things where we just like keep power running no matter where you toggle the
yeah.
switch.
Yeah, exactly. I think
Yeah.
DigiBlur, okay, Travis made fun of me for suggesting just putting tape over the light switches, right? So people, when they go to touch the light switches, you physically, oh, actually, I'm
Yeah.
not supposed to touch that, right? But
Yep.
yeah, I think Shelly is probably the answer to that now, right? I think with a Shelly switch, you can sort of say, okay, if the switch is toggled, don't cut power, but send a command to Home Assistant to turn the Hue light off or on or toggle it.
Yeah. Right now, it's working pretty good most of the time. So, and really, the automation thing, like with Home Assistant, like the point is like no one even thinks to touch the switch, and we've sort of it's been going on for long enough now that when we exist at home, and like something goes wrong, which is rare, we're like, wait, why is it dark? What's going on? And we don't. It's like I don't even think to go and flip the light switch anymore because it's just supposed to happen, which is what I want.
I do want to get off Hue in a second, but I do have a question for you. So you've got uh, how many light bulbs did you say? It was like it's over 50 because you needed the new hub, right?
Yeah, we've got over 50 or just above 50 light bulbs, and then we've
Yep.
got another 10 or so like switches plus sensors in there. So I think I'm at like 65 or 70 actual objects or
Yeah.
devices.
Are you using color? Because I know like Hue is very good at color. What are you using color around the house in?
It's great for like so during the day, it's just like a warm or not orange, but like like this color kind of lighting. We don't like the like cold fluorescent-y light, so it's just regular lights. But then during nighttime hours, they have like Hue does have their scenes that like preloaded on their app, which is what I still use the app for. Like the easiest thing is set up a scene in Hue, then it shows up in Home Assistant. Just give it a nice alias or rename it for my use, and then use that scene in my automations rather than just an on-off command or something. It's like activate this scene or that scene. And so during nighttime, we use what it's called starlight. And it's just kind of like these purple and light pink, like it's just kind of like a nice twilight sort of nightlight thing that's not as jarring on the eyes. That's great. And then we do all of our like we've created our own like holiday stuff that's fun. So like, you know, changing the lights for Halloween, Christmas and fall to like a bunch of like orange and purple and yellow for Halloween and red
Nice.
and green and blue for Christmas and Hanukkah and things like that. And so we do all of that where those aren't automated in the house. Those are just like we can hit the dimmer switch to activate a fun scene if we want. But I have our front porch lights. There's just some like recessed bulbs on our front porch. And so I just put Hue bulbs in there. I was like, I don't know if these should go outside, but it's pretty sheltered from the elements. Let's see. And they haven't
Yep.
broken in like 2 or 3 years, so they're working.
That's
And
great.
That's awesome.
I have it's based on month, and that's our front porch lights are automated through Home Assistant. They go on at sunset and they turn off at like right before midnight. So they're not on all night, but just kind of like during the evening a little bit. And if it's like basically if it's like I think March through September, it's just like normal lights go on. But then for the month of October, the scene is Halloween. So it'll turn on like the fun Halloween lights. And then for November, it's like a fall scene. For December, it's like Christmas lighting. And then for the winter, there's like a cool winter that are like blues and stuff. And so that's cool.
Yeah, that's nice. All right, so you've got your lights, a very massive setup there. What else are you automating in homes now? I know you've got Sonos in there. Have you done any automations around music?
I haven't I want to delve into music assistant and kind of get into that world. I haven't yet. So I don't do any automations using the Sonos really, other than sometimes we'll play around with like the text to speech and just kind of like message ourselves throughout the house or do something funny. But I use whether the Sonos is playing or not to like activate certain things. So probably one of like it's like tons of people do it. It's it's super basic, but it's still one of the coolest, my favorite automations is um, in the basement out there is like our good TV, and it's the one with the Hue light strips and a nice Sonos system. And so I have a like movie lighting set up so that whenever Home Assistant detects that like the Blu-ray player or my PlayStation or the TV is on or playing through the Sonos speaker for a certain amount of time, it transitions into movie lighting where all the lights like back like that one behind me dim down and then go off, and it's just the two lights right in front of the TV that are like a very low orange for a little bit of lighting, but no glare or reflection, and it kind of just transitions it
Nice.
into a movie or watching mode, and then you just have the TV and the gradient light strip, doing all the cool Hue sync stuff. And that is like that's one of my like that just is happy for me. I'm just like, oh yeah, this is so cool.
You're making me like really jealous. Like
That's
I used to have every downlight being addressable, right? When I was renting and I had no choice. Now that I, got my own house, the first thing I did was replaced all the switches and made them smart. But now I can't individually address each downlight. It's all or nothing. And now you're
Uh,
making me. I wish I could,
yeah, it's I feel very blessed for that. It's like it is really cool. I want one light off, one light on. I can mess around to whatever I want. And then like the notifications through Home Assistant for reminders have been really useful. So like
yeah.
I set up like because we have trash every week, but recycling is every other week. And so just setting up a notification that pops to my phone and my computer through the companion app that just is like, hey, it's just garbage, or hey, it's garbage and recycling, and like figuring
Right.
that out. I think the one my wife probably likes the best that I don't do anything with anymore, but I was like the proudest of like maybe figuring out is I was like, you know what? Since I can notify her, it would be cool to just send her just like a like positive notification of like, hey, just a reminder you're awesome, I love you. But to do it like at random, so it's just like once a day at random, she gets this message, and through some probably clunky chat GPT work, I figured out where it was like, okay, I can create a um what is it the date time boolean or whatever, and then I
yeah.
created an automation with a script that at 1 a.m. every day sets that date time to a random time throughout the day. And then there's another automation that's like when the date time happens or whatever, send this notification to Christina's phone or whatever. And so it's like at a random point every day she gets this message and she's like, I really like that. And so that won me some brownie points.
That's really cool.
And what sort
Yeah.
of prompt are you using? Like you're saying, like to ChatGPT, like I want you to say I love you, or like some words of affirmation. Like have you got like anything in particular that you're trying to convey across, or is it just a
It was just, I mean, I typed up the message. Like I was just like, I was just, thinking of my wife and like, words of affirmation and being appreciated are certainly her love language. Whereas like for me, it's like, buy me a tech toy. That's my love language. And so
buy me
it
some
was
more
just
Philips Hue
More
bulbs?
sensors.
exactly,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
more
right.
Philips Hue, get me another Sonos speaker. But yeah, so I was just kind of like, yeah, what would be a nice message to send her? And I kind of just thought of one that would be meaningful to her and typed it in, and then had to
Yeah.
make sure it was like short enough that it shows up and she can read the whole thing, because I haven't like they're not very interactable. And so at first it was too long, and she would like touch it and then it would kind of disappear, and then she's like, I don't know what it said. And so I was like, okay, let me make it a little shorter so it all shows up. The only thing I wish I could do is change that message uh, all the time, because
Mhm.
right now it's just the same message. But it would be, I don't know how to do that without a chaotic amount of automations or different messages, I feel like.
You could use a template. So you could set a variable in the automation with a
Okay.
whole bunch of like random messages that you've pre-typed out, and then you just using a template, you would then set that to a variable which is an array, and then your message would be choose a random message from that array, and every time the automation runs, it would randomly pick one of those messages and would be sent.
You are amazing. This
I,
is,
I
I
like
mean,
I like
again,
that you're writing this down. You're actually taking notes. This is fantastic.
no, it's well, it's
Um,
like I'm so new to this. It's like there's still so like I love Home Assistant in that like I feel like I've just scratched the surface. Like figuring
Yeah.
out the choose function or trigger
yep.
IDs. Just dabbled with helpers a little bit, and like just that has been like exponentially making things more possible. And like I didn't even I'm like a template, a variable array. What's this? Okay, I have homework now, and like if I can make that happen,
Like, and I use it for myself. So for my kids, right? I've mentioned it before. I have an automation where the Amazon Echo in the morning will announce to the kids, "You need to bring your milk bottles out of the bedroom." But I don't want the same message every morning, right? So um, it ran like I've created like I've got ChatGPT to generate some random funny messages, and it will just randomly choose one every morning. And as soon as they walk into the living room, she will announce, "Hey, the milk bottles need rescuing," or whatever the funny sentence she's got for the day is. I mean, that's all powered by a template. Um, the kids don't listen to her anymore. Like that start, like for the first few
Yeah.
weeks, it was great. Now, my 2-year-old this morning, he said, "Silly Lexa," right? Like, and just refused to acknowledge that he needed to do it. So,
yeah,
yeah, swing and a miss, but it does work. So yeah, you can do that. Otherwise, you could like if you've got ChatGPT or something integrated into Home Assistant, you could give it a prompt, and you can actually ask in the prompt. You can say limit it to 200 characters, or make sure you don't exceed 200 characters, and then whatever it spits out should be within that limit.
that's awesome. Yeah, I haven't. I've listened to you guys. I was like, one day I haven't integrated any AI stuff into Home Assistant yet. My extent has just been, yeah, a web browser conversation with ChatGPT or Claude to help me like figure out something. But like, I think, especially with like the voice edition or preview edition, like that, I was like, okay, I'm like, the dream is to have my own local, Home Assistant sort of AI basically. And I'm like, all right, like I could see that. Like in the next 5 to 10 years, I feel like it will be possible to have that operating, I hope. And that would be really cool.
I think it's gonna happen. It's just a matter of how long, right? It's I don't know. I'm mostly here for it, I think.
I just
Right.
love the
So
idea of like, having your own little, literally like your own little Jarvis, that you can just use to, hey, can you do this? Can you run that? Can you check on this or
yeah.
whatever, and having it be local. That's like the Home Assistant piece. Like, I feel like it touched on something that I didn't know I was still holding on to. And I was like, oh yeah, like I'm just so tired of relying on the cloud, of relying on like streaming services and all this stuff. Like it
Mm,
even reignited my like, I need to get back into just like my movie or TV show Blu-rays and stuff where it's like, I just want to have it all here so no one can take it away from me. Or if someone shuts down something, it stops working. And, like, I mean, I was I'm thinking of at some point we're gonna ditch we just have a couple Google Home Minis to use as we don't do anything other than ask them random questions sometimes and just use it to like, hey Google, turn the lights on. Hey, do this. Um, and I'm just like, but it that adds like if we go through Google, the response time is so much slower, and it feels like Google in particular has just been kind of on the downward slide.
yeah. Well, I mean, it
And
is what, like September, October 2025, and I think yeah, for the past few months, yeah, it's been in the news, right, that Google Home has had a lot of issues going on, and I think Google have acknowledged it. I suspect it's related to their new Gemini in the home, Google Home, so AI that they're bringing in. I think they're doing a lot of background changes, which is sort of yeah affecting it. It will get better, but this is Google, right? Like known for killing things randomly. So
yeah. And outside of like I don't know if I'll ever get out of it. Like we are roped into the Apple ecosystem, unfortunately. And I love my Apple devices, but like as we're getting more stuff in the home, I'm like, if it doesn't let me integrate it into Home Assistant. I don't want it. Like we had the Nest combined smoke and carbon monoxide, and now they discontinued them. And they don't really integrate into Home Assistant. They won't let you, and it's just like, why? Come on, man! Like, it's a smoke detector. Just let me have it be a part of my system. And it sucks because it's a sleek product. It looks good. I haven't found another smoke detector that looks as cool as that, or like, aesthetically pleasing. And the thing we love the most is just the little nightlight feature that it has, where if you walk underneath it, it just gives you a little illumination. And it's just like, that's great. It's very helpful. And now it's just a ticking clock for, I think they're all going to expire for us in the next 5 or 6 years, our models. And so it's like, all right, well, then we'll have to find something else, but we're going to ride that until it's done.
Drives me up the wall where it does that, right? And again, I'm at the cusp. I literally think I have like 4 days left on in the expiry of my fire alarms, right, for the house, and sorry, smoke alarm, sorry. And same thing, right? And it's like, I do like the Nest products, and I want to get another one, but no integration. And honestly, they're it's just like they're going backwards with stuff, right? And so yeah.
That and like figuring out what stuff is more local and what stuff is like dialing somewhere very far away. Like,
Yeah.
that was something that I was like, oh wow. Like, once I got the Pi-hole running and I could see how many times our LG TVs were trying to like call to Netflix
Mhm.
or phone somewhere else. I was like, yeah, I don't need any of that. Why are you doing that?
Ubiquiti is really good at
We
showing, all the network traffic as well,
Yeah.
right? Like, we
Well,
could like, why is that Echo using so much data today? Like,
yep.
yeah.
You can do the map where it
Yeah.
tells you like where things are calling, and I was like, I figured it out because when I was setting up firewalls and stuff, like, you can block specific regions. And I was like, all right, well, I mean, no one really, is anyone gonna mess with our house and like cyber attack us? Like, probably not. But like, who are the offenders that we have to most worry about? It's like, well, okay, I can block North Korea. Like, I don't need anything to go to North Korea. And then, like, I was like, well, like, nothing against China and its people. And I was like, okay, that's one. I could block China. And when I blocked the network traffic from China, all of a sudden, the camera function on our automatic pet feeders didn't work anymore.
Right.
Oh,
And so I was
wow.
like, oh, interesting. And so I unblocked them because I still want to use
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
have Pet Libro automatic pet feeders, and they have little cameras so you can see when the cats are eating their food and stuff. And it was just like, oh wow, to watch that video, it is dialing over to some server in China where its cloud services are
Yeah.
based to give us that. And it just was like, oh yeah, like, I mean, we'll keep these until they get busted, but next time I get a pet feeder, I'm like, I don't want that. Not
Yeah.
anything against anyone. It's just
Sure.
sort of like, why does my pet feeder need to go through a cloud somewhere? Like, I
In
don't
the
I
other
don't
side of
want
the
that.
world kind of thing.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
other side of the world.
So is that
And
local as well? So even if you're on the same network, like I could understand if, you're out of the house and it needs to go through a third party, but even if you're sitting right
even
in
if I'm
that
local,
chair, wow.
it doesn't do anything local. It's like the only way to look at the video is to go through their cloud. So it's like the feeder and my phone connected to the same exact network, and yet when I open the app for the feeder on my phone to watch the camera, because you can only do it in their app, it's dialing through the cloud services that they've got, which are located somewhere in China. And it's like, oh, I don't need that. Like, I want things to be more local,
Yeah.
which is the
Yeah.
dream of getting like a NOS that I can just get all of my music, all of like upload all of
Yeah.
my like video content, have maybe like a Jellyfin or a Plex, where it's like,
Yep.
yeah, I don't need to worry about, oh yeah, Netflix or Amazon Prime got rid of this movie I wanted to watch that I watched, a couple months ago. and now I don't have it anymore. You know.
So it sounds like your ubiquity gateway to Home Assistant is now turning into a gateway into self-hosting, and you're going to
Yes.
be,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm like, I hope my wife doesn't listen to this podcast because I'm like, I think the future is going to be like probably like a little mini rack in the like mechanical closet
yep,
where I can have a bunch of stuff. I do want to get I want to ditch Simply Safe at some point because it's another one of those like cloud and subscription, and all the cameras are Wi-Fi on the 2.4 band, and so they're not even.
Right.
It's like anytime there's an alert or a notification, it has to like reconnect these cameras that are battery powered to the Wi-Fi, and it's like there's always like you miss sections of the video and lag, and it's fine for me just wanting to like snoop on the house when we're on vacation or something like that, but for an actual like security purpose it's not very great. And so I'd like to go either like the Rio Link, or if I win the lottery, the Unify camera sort of
oh,
system, and I could
yes,
get them like PoE throughout the house because we are fairly decently hardwired in the home. And maybe I could eventually run some cables or have someone run some cables if we ever did some remodeling. And those are like some of the dream add-ons as we move into this realm.
That's cool. I mean, yeah, even in terms of like first of all, the self-hosting community has become so large, right? I think it's cool because used to just be a bunch of people that just did everything themselves, and like maybe you're on Reddit, maybe you're not, whatever, and like, but now there's actually communities dedicated to this, and first of all, I'm all here for it. As someone that hosts a lot of stuff myself, whatever, but it's actually not super hard to get started, right? You were talking about those little like B-Link little mini PCs and stuff like that. Cheap and cheerful, get a couple of those, and you can play around with those, right? And it doesn't have to be B-Link, obviously, but there's a few brands that are doing that. I've got I think I was talking about a while ago for my NAS. I wanted to upgrade to kind of an SSD based NAS. I got a little mini link NAS box. I think the box itself was a couple $100, right? And it's like, yeah, it's awesome, right? And obviously the drives cost way more than that, but it's still pretty sweet, right? And then the barrier to entry is getting much lower, and I think it's awesome, right? And I think that's where it should be.
And the community, like that is the thing that like for Home Assistant really, like I was like, this is where I want to exist. Because
Yeah,
I mean every community has people that suck. I mean that's just anywhere on the planet Earth. But like
sure.
I was just surprised by how many people like on Reddit, on GitHub, if I like have an issue or something, or like anybody I talk to are like exactly like you two, where it's like Phil, like a second ago, it's like you're like, oh, you could try this and this and this, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
great, and like I post a question on Reddit or a problem, and like usually 85 to 90% of the comments are like actually helpful, supportive. Someone takes their time to like, have you tried this? Or like, did you check these settings or try this thing? Like,
yeah.
it's
yeah,
just such a like supportive and positive community. And like, the toxicity level is pretty low compared to some other communities that I've been a part of.
sure,
Um,
sure.
and and I'm just like, this is great. Like this is exactly for me anyway. It's like this is kind of the idyllic. Like this is kind of what the internet was supposed to do. It was supposed to like
Yeah,
bring people together. We're like like even here it's like three guys like Australia, Canada, United States, and we're just like
yeah,
chatting about stuff and having a good time and helping each other, and it's like this is the best. So
yeah,
I love
yeah.
Home Assistant for that.
No, and that's amazing. I mean, it is, right, and that community is really what drives a lot of the projects too. And Home Assistant itself's vision is around what the community
Yeah.
wants or where they want to go, and that kind of thing. Obviously, they do some of their own stuff too, but yeah, it is pretty it is pretty cool. You're right. It is very unique in that sense. You still have a few black sheep that are less than helpful, let's call it. But
Sure.
for the most part, on average, it's more of a hit than a miss, right? And
Yeah. I'm like my day job, right? I'm a psychologist by trade, and so
nice.
like the communities that I operate in my professional sphere are all like other psychologists, mental health practitioners. Like we are
Yeah.
literally supposed to be the people who have the most empathy and appreciation for other people. And like some of the listservs and communities that I've been a part of through psychology are just like, oh my God, this is like horrible. I don't want to be here. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
Home Assistant blows them mostly out of the water. And I was like, there's something wrong with this. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
To be
Yeah.
fair, there
Kudos
are
to you for
great
being
communities.
someone using Home Assistant, not from a tech background too, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know exactly like what Rohan was saying. I was like, it's getting so much easier to get into this stuff. Like, I mean, I literally just followed someone's blog instructions to get both Proxmox and Home Assistant OS in a virtual machine running. And like I didn't have to know, because if I had to know how to do any of that, like how do you flash a USB drive with an ISO file and then get that onto your PC, and then what is a virtual machine, and then in
right.
Home Assistant it's like how do you do YAML, what is this, and like I mean if I had to do that all on my own I wouldn't. Even like I mean like I was mentioning with the Hue stuff, like I felt a little nervous asking for a feature request on GitHub because I'm like, am I even allowed to do this? Like, I don't know how to code. Like, I don't know any. Like, I look at GitHub
Yeah.
and I'm like, I don't. I feel like if I touch this, am I gonna break someone's computer somewhere? I don't know what I'm doing. But it was like I posted. I was like, hey, this feature would be really cool. It just came out, I know, but can someone like work on this as a user? It would be awesome. And within less than a week, there are people who are like, yeah, that would be great. Here's the link to the API through like the Hue developer website. It should be doable. And just this morning, someone's like, yeah, I'm working on it. And, you know, hopefully it'll be done by this weekend or something. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's
Power of
amazing.
open source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That's it.
amazing.
It's
So,
yeah, the community, especially on the dev side, is phenomenal. So it's
yeah.
huge shout
I'm
out to
like,
them.
I mean, I subscribe to the Nabukasa cloud just because, again, ease of use. Like, I don't have to figure out how to get access to my Home Assistant, you know, outside of my house. Is just it does it for me. And like I was like, I'm gonna do this because even having, I mean, I did it within the first, you know, couple weeks of having Home Assistant because I was like, I need to support this community. Like, if this money in any way supports the Home Assistant project, I would just give them this money even without getting to, you know, use the features of their cloud and stuff. But I'm like, that is worth it to me because it's just great. And I know, like, I feel safe, I think maybe is the word I'm gonna look for. Like, I feel like, oh, I can exist here and like let my home be my home and not have to have any level of anxiety of like, oh, when is Google or Apple or whoever going to discontinue this thing? And then I'm gonna have to figure out this whole shuffle around. It's like, no, Hue is my one like Achilles heel. Like I know I'm still like, you know, it's mostly local, but there is still like that cloud component that they're
Sure.
Still got
running.
the app, right, that you're relying
I
on.
still got the
And
app that I'm using, and it's like I don't have to. Like I could go through Home Assistant and like adjust individual bulb colors and create a scene through there, but it's just like that is a way where the
It's
Home
easier.
Assistant
Yeah.
UI is just like it's not set up for that yet, or maybe ever. Whereas like the Hue app is like it's just they've got a great user interface for setting that stuff up. And so fingers crossed if I can keep just like I'll buy your stuff, I'll set up my scenes, and then just leave me alone and let me do everything I want through Home Assistant, I would be over the moon.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, Josh, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been an amazing chat. Really fun to talk to you today. So again, thank you, and yeah, see you around.
cheers. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. It's been really awesome.
Yeah, it was.
Of
Thank
course.
you.